Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Chen. I'm the moderator for this panel discussion.
Speaker.
And speak up. Okay. Okay. Is that better now? Okay. And first of all, I'd like to introduce myself. My full-time job is AI hardware design engineer, and I also taught machine learning at an higher university. So I, sort of confident want to talk about detail about technology today. I can join the panel discussion. But today, actually, we want to change the topic a little bit. But while we're talking about the AI computing, actually, our panel discussion want to discuss about what's Taiwan's future global role in AI computing. We want to bring, remember Taiwan number one, right? We want to talk about what's Taiwan's role in the future of AI. Okay? And hopefully by the end, we have something that we can do together, some idea we can do together. Right? Now, let me now start to introduce, our panelists, and actually ask them to come to introduce, themselves one by one. Let's first, welcome Joseph Chen.
Hi everyone, my name is Joseph Chen. Currently I'm a supply chain VP for my company, which is an IC design company based in Israel. So I manage my company's overall supply chain in Taiwan. And previously I was working at the TSMC North America as a sales person. So I'm here to share with you more on the supply chain side, also how international customers for Taiwan supply chain, IC design supply chain, look at Taiwan. Thank you.
Thank you. Now let's welcome GATTD.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Chieh-Ting Yeh. Most people call me Ting. I know it says over there that I'm a venture partner at Front Augustine Alexander, FAA LLC. So I am a venture capital investor, but in my several previous lives, I have been a lawyer and as well as some experience as a media journalist, and also in the U.S., Taiwan, China foreign policy, geopolitical kind of space. So, so I am a little bit of a generalist. I know some of you guys might have heard that term today a little bit. I know a little bit about a few things. And also to shout out to all the biomedical people here. I was actually a biochemistry major in college. So maybe we can talk about that afterwards.
Thanks.
Thank you. Hello everyone, my name is Yen-Kuang. I'm currently a GATTD vice president. I'm helping Wang to promote Taiwan's national positions in terms of AI. And currently my job is about using AI to do the fraud detections. And before that, I was doing over 8 years research in AI security and privacy. So my focus is about AI trust and the fundamental problems, how we can use this algorithm to improve our social benefits. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, this is actually today's titles and also the three main topics that I want to talk about. Okay. What's Taiwan's future role in global AI landscape? And the first is that we want to review what's the past, and then examine what's today, and then think about what's the future. Right? Especially we start from the past. Right? We know now Taiwan actually played a significant role in global semiconductor industry. Right? How many of you still remember after the end of COVID pandemic? Suddenly, when you want to buy a car, the price jump up significantly. How many of you understand the reason? One of the reasons is because during the COVID, right, the semiconductor supply chain has a small disturbance, and that disturbance become a big problem in everybody's life. And now we know Taiwan actually plays a significant role in the semiconductor industry. And then actually this also help Taiwan build many allies to help defend Taiwan's democracy and freedom. But as TSMC now start to have different value in different countries, US, Japan, Germany. Are we still holding that position? Can we still have allies to help Taiwan defend the peace across the Taiwan Strait? Right, that will be the first questions that we want to ask. And then we will talk about the day. Right? We now know Taiwan is the center of the AI hardware. Right? NVIDIA, AMD, and so on. They start to emphasize the importance of Taiwan as a partner. They also want to increase their investment. They are starting off their R&D centers in Taiwan. Right? What can Taiwan play a role in the hardware besides just being a part of the supply chain? Can we do more? And the last part that we will talk about is about the future. Right? The AI is not just the hardware, but also the software. Right? Can Taiwan play a bigger role in there? And including, can we, Taiwan, having its own, sovereign AI, and it can manage the conflict between this, sovereign AI with other countries. Yeah. Right. That will be the three things that we want to talk about. Now I want to go back. Now we know what we want to talk about. Now let's start with the first question. Right. How has Taiwan semiconductor industry secured its global position? Can this continue? First of all, I'd like to ask, maybe Ting to share a little bit, how Taiwan play such an important sector.
Sure. Okay, thank you, YK. First of all, I'd like to thank everybody for coming to our panel again, because I know this is the last panel of the day. Everybody's had a very long day. So thank you for staying awake. I think as we look into the past, how many people have bought Chip War by Professor Chris Miller? Okay, how many people have actually read it? But as many of you guys know, Chip War became a very, very, very popular book in the last couple of years because it talks about semiconductors and because the semiconductor industry has become such a big kind of hot topic, not only amongst people like us who are in the industry or who are in technology, but for people who are, who have never really thought about computers before, namely think tank scholars and politicians and policymakers, right? The book has become so popular to a point where Professor Chris Miller himself was pretty shocked at why is everybody asking him so many questions about semiconductors when the book, for those of you who have read it, the book talks about the history of the semiconductor industry, right? It's a look into the past, and if you sort of look at the way that's kind of come through, you can kind of tell that the industry kind of developed because of a division of labor, right? Because of globalization and because of the immense know-how and immense investment that goes into designing chips, making chips, packaging chips, and finding applications for those chips, right? So all of that work kind of over time kind of went to naturally the places that does them the best. And I think this is sort of the very high altitude kind of overview of how Taiwan, for better or for worse, has become the center for chip manufacturing and for high tech in general in the world. And as we know, 60% of chips and more than 90% of advanced chips made in actually in Taiwan. So that's there are historical reasons why this has happened, and this is kind of where we are today. I think Joseph would like to talk a little bit more in terms of kind of looking from inside the industry, kind of how that process became the way it is.
Sure. Yeah, thanks again, YK, and all the committee invited me to be an analyst. And first of all, I have to make a disclaimer. I'm not a TSMC spokesperson. Typically, you need to pay me more. So, but with my experience in the TSMC, also with being a customer for TSMC, I can probably share a little insight to the audience here how we see all this past 4 or 5 years, how it works. So I think you, actually YK pointed out that actually a lot of people question that the TSMC actually expand their foundry production fab to the internationally. So and how the TSMC could sustain their advanced advanced technology, also those technology advantage toward other competitors. Okay. So I think, in my opinion, that TSMC's expansion is mostly driven by business development, as well as YK already highlighted that the shortage of the supply chain shortage during the pandemic time actually shocked everybody's mind a lot. Yeah. So TSMC actually is we all know TSMC is a public traded company in U.S. and Taiwan stock market. So, from my understanding, being an ex-TSMC employee, the company actually always trying to pursue the maximum profit with the maximum market share in the industry. Okay, so all this work actually it's not actually all the work actually as you can see that in the investment in Japan, in Germany, or in US. It's actually all product or application driven. Meaning that if you look into detail, I think you can see in Japan, it's mostly serving the CMOS image sensor market, support Sony mostly. In Germany, I believe, like I already highlighted, we have to pay a lot of money for the cars after the pandemic. So the Germany and Dresden side is basically serving the automobile industry. Okay. And in US, of course, they are serving the AI and also the high-performance computing industry. So, but the bottom line is that if you look at what they are doing, they are actually, all the work and the technology were actually developed in Taiwan. So I believe that the TSMC actually hold a very good concept that everything has to be rooted in Taiwan. Especially the advanced technology on the process side, on the packaging side. Okay, for AI, of course, the process plus packaging is the key factors to enable the leading edge devices. Okay, so overall, I think that's my understanding. And another part I want to address is that Taiwan is not the business is not only on TSMC. All this development, everything is actually because Taiwan is very unique, okay, in IC industry to have this full ecosystem. What's the reason I said ecosystem? I think for me, after TSMC be a customer of TSMC, using or enjoy the Taiwanese IC industry ecosystem. Actually, my boss is an Israeli, entrepreneur. He wants to realize that actually, wow, in Taiwan, you can actually do one island shopping. Okay, meaning within 3 hours of high-speed railroad commute, you can have the foundry business ready with TSMC, UMC. You can have your packaging and test ready in ASE, SPIL, KYEC. Furthermore, you can have your production ready on the hardware side from Foxconn or the Big Five. I'm not talking about sporting goods. I'm talking about 电子五格. So, yeah. So actually this kind of a close proximity of realizing production, especially for hardware, actually kind of so good for those for the customers trying to stay with Taiwan. Okay, so I think that's actually strengthened our Taiwan's strategic importance to the world. And actually, in the world, most of the TSMC's customer or the IC design company actually try to rely on this model a lot, actually. So I believe in the past, yes, in the past 30 years, Taiwan has demonstrated the strength of this entire healthy ecosystem of the IC industry. I think that's the main reason that we can see the AI, we are supporting the AI industry pretty well because of this good foundation.
Thank you. So now actually this is a good segue into.
Can I ask a question?
You want to ask a question?
Yes, please.
Yeah,
Please.
okay.
I fully agree with what you said about the Taiwan strength. But I think some people are concerned about the electricity in Taiwan. Prior to this morning, one with from the competition, right? We know that
I'm not your competition anymore.
EUV in Taiwan, TSMC consumes 7% of power, electric power. One in Taitung, Ibadan there. With the high NA EUV will consume 15% power. This morning I heard about say, hey, AI usage will consume around 10%, right? I heard about the NVIDIA building the data center in Taiwan or wherever, right? So that's added all together. That's the major concern. You got an influence to government to make sure the electricity is fully supplied. Thank you.
So I'll, okay, so first of all, I don't have inside information from the government on that particular issue, but I think everybody understands that the electric supply issue in Taiwan is a very controversial topic these days. But I just want to, and I think that points to a little bit of what we're going to talk about for present and the future, right? Because even though Taiwan today is a powerhouse, right, in semiconductor manufacturing, and we have this great ecosystem, right? It's not by any means going to stay that way forever if we don't keep it up, right? If we don't solve these challenges like the power or other types of challenges that may come along the way. I think just in terms of the power. I know people are trying to figure out different solutions. I know there's a discussion on nuclear or restarting nuclear power. As far as I know, that the details, the actual things that people can do in the short term for nuclear power in Taiwan, there's not that many options. So in the short term, it might not even be a viable solution. That's my personal understanding. But I do want to say that could also be an opportunity for if there's any entrepreneurs in the NIST who wants to tackle the problem of Taiwan's power supply and power storage, it might be actually a very good opportunity, right? So.
Yeah, let me add a little bit. Yeah, so first of all, I have to clarify, I'm not the Dr. Chen's competitor anymore. Yeah, and we are the schoolmate, yeah, the respectable, senior. So I think maybe from the electricity point of view, as I know that all these Google, Amazon, or Microsoft, those people developing the new AI data centers, they also have those kind of ESG incentives behind. So meaning that I was just taking an example, as I know that Google the past few days because of this problem, that I think Google's the investment in Taiwan in Changhua, those AI data centers actually next to the wind powered plant. So of course, like the electricity is super critical, especially in the AI era, and also manufacturing the advanced technology chip rely on a lot of electricity of the high NA UV. Okay, So, but of course, we need to find a solution for the electricity. But what I learned, and I believe that all these big data center company, cloud service providers, they have a social responsibility to fulfill this ESG, because they are consuming a lot of power, and especially in the area which is limited electricity generated every day. So it's not in the States. States different, but in Taiwan, yes, yeah, it's tough. Yeah, I agree with you.
Okay. Trust our government, Taiwan government. Explain to them.
Well, I would say trust in the democratic process in Taiwan, so the government can do the right thing, and trust in the ingenuity of Taiwanese scientists and engineers, right, and inventors to come up with technological solutions to solve these problems.
Okay, great. So let's move on to, we have two more topics to talk about, and we only have about half of the time. So let's move on. So previously we already talked about the hardware side, especially we're now focused on AI, right? Semiconductor is great. We know we will potentially still get some amount of support from globally to help Taiwan's straight piece. But how about the AI hardware, right? We now know NVIDIA, AMD try to invest R&D centers in Taiwan, and also many companies are building their data centers in Taiwan, right? These are from the hardware side. And my question to the panelists is, what Taiwan should do, or Taiwanese should do, to maintain the competitive edge on AI, right? And then Tim, I think you mentioned a little bit about entrepreneurship. Maybe from your perspective, is there anything that Taiwan or Taiwanese can do in terms of the hardware entrepreneurship to build together with those global big giants?
So just as my personal experience as a very, very small investor, we tend not to look at hardware projects, right? Because the capital investment is very, very high at the front end, right? It's a very big, there's a lot of very big fixed costs in the beginning. It's very risky for small angel investors or venture investors to get into big hardware type of projects. So I think there has to be some slightly different ways to go about kind of investing in hardware innovation, hardware startups. So that's I think from that angle. But I think there are when we think of hardware, we always think big factories, right? But within those big factories, and as I'm sure everybody knows, they're machines, right? And then within the machines have small parts, right? Within the small parts, the machines are run by software, right? And so even for a hardware production process, there are many, many ways along that process that can be innovated, but that can be, where the efficiency can be maximized, right? So I think these are kind of the opportunities that people can pay a little bit more attention to, right? So not, when we talk about making chips, we're okay, TSMC, right? But TSMC has to rely on hundreds, if not thousands of suppliers and software, people doing software, hardware, or even just, making the whole process run that much better, right? So I think there's some opportunities in that. I don't know, Hans, if you want to speak to that a little bit as well.
Yeah, so regarding the hardware AI, I think Taiwan has a very, very unique position here, not just because of the TSMC manufacturing thing, but also Taiwan invested in a lot of research in this area for a long time as well. And one thing I think what Taiwan needs to think about is that for all these kind of hardware innovation and company research, eventually you need a big market value to justify for it. Okay, and this is going to be the interesting part, because in the past we are highly relying on the big market somewhere that may influence our global position, but we need to think about what is another alternative big market that we can, target to re-innovate our hardware and build a potential alliance to sustain this hardware AI effort. So we should think about this problem beyond the technology. I guess this is one of the topics that we're trying to raise people's attention as well.
Okay, so I think Wang also pointed out the A&D and NATEA investment in Taiwan. It's R&D side, not only the buying hardware from Taiwan. So I'm pretty sure that the night market and also the Taiwanese food play some incentives for those CEOs from the AI giant, tech giants. Okay, but in reality, though, I think we probably need to think further. We actually talked a lot about those hardware proximity, how good the Taiwanese ecosystem build up to support all this industry. But I think actually Hans actually pointed out that we need to look at probably I would suggest look at the market size. So let me refer some of my learning, also Google, okay, the past few days. So actually in this year, that the market size of the so-called cloud server is about 630 billion US dollars. Okay, and then of course we are projecting how much growth with this AI application would be. So the CAGR growth rate is about 37% till 2030, meaning that the projected market size for this AI data center server and also service they provided is about 1.4 trillion US dollar there. So with all this, I think we need to think about how does this AI company try to support their customers, which are the cloud service providers, Google, Amazon, Microsoft Azure, because they need to build this data center to support this company's service to the users. Okay, so and now we need to with this kind of information, and that I believe that's the reason why the Jensen and Lisa they want to invest in Taiwan. And another thing is that because we know that all these companies are not just build AI hardware GPU. They are actually very, very strong at AI solutions of integrated hardware plus software. Taking the fact that the CUDA and ROCm, they developed purely for the users, AI users, to utilize their platform. So all this kind of work investment actually give us some hints that what should we look for Taiwan as next step on this area, because we already have very strong hardware. And I think Tim and Hans also pointed out, we should think about all under this investment, what Jensen and Lisa they are looking at. They know there's no hardware development. Taiwan is deliver the latest AI hardware plus the shortest time to market capability already. We need to think about maybe in the AI software or application side for next possible direction for Taiwan. I think that's my understanding. Yeah.
Great. So it's my understanding that the semiconductor industry bring a lot of attention to Taiwan. Now everybody need the hardware to support AI applications. So now we also get a lot of attention to Taiwan. But the next question I'd like to ask is about the future, right? Because we know it's not the hardware only, as the panelists just talk about. We also need the software. Maybe you also need the algorithm, even the models, right? For those, how can we look in the futures that what Taiwan should do? Right? I like to now ask a question to Hans. What's your opinion about why should Taiwan build our own language models, and why and how?
Yeah, this is a big question. So I'll try my best to answer that based on my long time in AI security privacy. So I think if you guys know that, I just want to quote. If God created a human being based on his image, then we're trying to create AI based on our image. Okay? Then eventually this AI is something we'll expect. It will perform something like a human being, which we call AGI, and then next step is ASI. And before we hit the AGI, our AI so far is already powerful enough to pass the Turing test. So what does that mean? That means the current LLM is based on your training data set, which may be in English, maybe in Chinese, whatever, and then it will pick up and learn from those texts and corpus and acquire the knowledge from them. And as you also know, the LLM may make some mistakes sometimes, which we call the hallucination, that it will still answer your question if it doesn't know the answer. So, and where does that answer come from? That answer comes from its, we call the hallucination, but exactly when you see these hallucination things, it may imply certain kind of ideology context behind it. So that means, like, for example, as a human being, we're raised and grow in certain culture, and we are facing some new challenges in some new environment, and we don't have any answer. What do we react to solve that problem? Well, based on our context in our culture, or our ideology that we learn and what we believe to take this action. And eventually, the large language model will do the similar things. And this will lead to the concern about the ideology difference between language modeling. That your training data can also introduce human beings' bias and human beings' misunderstanding, including the good thing and bad things into the LLM model. And this may bring some concerns in security and privacy thing because you cannot predict and you don't know what LLM will do if it doesn't know the answer. How to control it? So this brings to the critical question that, okay, AI can bring us the efficiency in labor and improve the work performance and so on and so forth. But how about the security part? Is that trustworthy? Well, I don't know. But at least I know that Taiwan is a very unique country in the world now. We are probably the only country using Chinese language in a successful democratic system. And this is very unique. So that means a lot of Chinese language things will bear democratic spirit. Most likely, those training sources are from Taiwan. So if we don't have Taiwan to protect these democratic spirit, legal system kind of concept in our training data set, we won't have all these kind of things in Chinese language. That would be a pity for all human beings, I guess. So I guess eventually, before we hit AGI, we'll face the issue about the ideological gap there. And then this will bring to the, what Kate just mentioned, I guess, the sovereign AI that is necessary and important for Taiwan to build its locally owned AI system, or LLM. At least that can support our unique cultural knowledge or context, and that's unique style to answer the question, I guess. Yeah. And sovereign AI is, I think it's a very new concept that was mentioned maybe by Joyce Wang, I guess, from this year. They highlight the importance for a nation to build its own AI system. But I think Taiwan has a very unique strength here to do its own sovereign AI and maybe participate in the international affairs through this kind of techniques. Yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Well, first I want to respond to Hans when he said AI answers the question even though it doesn't know the answer. I don't know, that sounds very human to me. So, I mean, it's not like any of us do that, right? What was the question again? So, I think, I was kind of thinking about this topic. right? Because so far we've been talking about Taiwan's strength in making the equipment that enables AI, right? The chips, the hardware, maybe even the software. So that's kind of like, if you can imagine a country somewhere out there in the world that's very, very good at making airplanes, okay? But then most of the people in that country has never sat in an airplane before, right? So that's, you know, there's a level of, are we actually using the benefits that you are creating for everybody else in the world, right? And if we take the airplane analogy even further, right? So there was a time in the last century where every country felt it was important for that country to have a quote-unquote sovereign airline, right? So you know, you have every country kind of has their own national airline, right? Like how you know, we do as well, right? You know, many countries have the airline that carries their name, right? So maybe, and people did that because at the time it was considered a sort of a strategic importance or a sense of national pride, right? That you not only are good at making the airplanes for other people, but you should have your own application, right? You should have your own way of using this technology. And you should also encourage everybody else in your country or in your society, right? All the different businesses, all the different end users, to really take advantage of this technology to progress, you know, to push, you know, to get, to bring more prosperity or to bring more progress to the society, right? So I think that's kind of the analogy that works for me for AI. And I think the one difference is that AI, as Han said, is related to knowledge, right? And related to how we understand not just the world, but how we understand ourselves, right? So it is even more important than airlines and than airplanes, right? That we, you know, one, I think, you know, the idea of a sovereign AI, or at least an AI model or an AI tool that we feel reflects our own values and reflects our own knowledge, reflects the way we choose to see the world. And also to encourage more businesses, more end users in Taiwan to adopt AI tools in a way that helps them, right? And I think, you know, I know there's just among my friends, my Taiwanese friends are the ones that are like trying all the AI stuff, right? Like, you know, creating pictures and you know, writing things in ChatGPT. I don't think any of my American friends are doing that. So I think that's a good thing, maybe. But you know, I think generally, in all seriousness, I think Taiwan has a really good opportunity here because it's such a new thing for everybody, right? And so if AI is going to be with us for you know, at the time, if AI is here to stay, then I think it's good that people in Taiwan are really trying to see what we can do and creating new companies and new ways to use this tool. So I think that's, you know, I think that's one way to for Taiwan to take advantage of this AI trend. In addition to just, okay, we can make money making the equipment for other people. So.
Now, back to Ken's, right? What do you think about? What do you think about, you know, in the future, when everybody, right, will have their own AI? What can Taiwan do, you know, different to create critical roles, right? Just as Tim said, right, we're not just building a house, right? Now we want you to look at the model, right? And then what can Taiwan do different, right? What Taiwan should do.
Right. I guess this is also a good question. I've been thinking about that as well. So we need a little bit more about abstract thinking in our education system. So what does that mean? So it means we need to think about, okay, we have an AI hardware and then we have an AI values created. But on top of that, we need to ask ourselves, do we trust that? And what does that mean? How do we regulate that in our legal system? So when everything's happening beyond our expectations, we have a fair way to resolve or address the issue. So we need a way to regulate AI, and also we need a way to democratize this process. So that means each participant, they get a right to pay their own AI benefit, but also in the same time, they have their own responsibility to take for their consequences. And this had to be clear. Yeah, so I guess this is going to be the space between not just technology, but also the way of like an ecosystem and the regulation. How can we combine them together to democratize the AI process and regulate this? Eventually, in the future, AI service can be a type of commodities you consume by each individual. And how can we regulate that in a good way?
Talk about regulation.
Yes. No, so I think what Han says is absolutely right in that AI is a very, very new technology, right? And what's special about AI is that the way it works, it's trying to mimic basically being a human, right? And most people doesn't really know nor care about how the technology works under the hood, so to speak. And what I want to say is, I think if you remember other technology waves or other kind of big breakthroughs in technology in the past, there always has to be some regulation or some kind of societal limits put on this technology to sort of protect the users, or to protect bystanders, or to protect the people making this technology, right? And this is kind of a process where we can only figure it out as we go along, as we use more of this technology, as we kind of discover where the blind spots are, as we discover what problems, what kind of erroneous use cases there might be, right? And I think as the world is trying to figure out all of these questions, it really makes no sense for Taiwan to be absent from this process, right? Because Taiwan, as we said, not only makes the equipment, right? If we are the ones that's actively using this technology, or the ones that's actively selling this technology and making business models out of this technology, I think Taiwan really does have an opportunity here to have more of a voice in the sort of international diplomatic scene, right? To say, okay, we are a very critical part of this industry. We're a very critical part of this technology, right? So let us help everybody else figure out where the blind spots are, right? So, and I think that is something that not just the government of Taiwan, the people of Taiwan, the businesses of Taiwan, all of us here, I think, should have a lot more confidence in what we can bring to the conversation on a global level.
So, in the interest of time, I'm almost to add the last questions, which is, 5 minutes away. So, do you see any inflection points in the near future, for AI communities and related to Taiwan's global states? Hence.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of opportunities for Taiwan in this space. Taiwan is actually in very crucial junctures in the history we have ever seen before. That all the big company or countries, they're relying on Taiwan's chip manufacturing to produce their chip to do their AI service or their sovereign AI things. And right now, Taiwan has this strength, this unique strength, but I don't think it's enough. Okay, because we are currently living in this space doesn't mean we will live in this space forever. That just means this kind of leadership buys us time for the next investment. Okay, and we need to think about what is our next statement following this AI story for the next 50 years, maybe the next generation, the generation after. What that AI right now is in the form of hardware, and eventually it will be a software, as you can see, LM. But eventually, hardware and software will be integrated into one thing, regardless hardware, software, edge, IoT, cloud, anywhere in your car and house, no matter what. In that world, AIB will be part of our human companionship in our daily life. And in that world, what kind of decision will Taiwan play to serve our human society for the good benefit? We need to think about that at this crucial juncture and pave for the path toward that goal and vision.
So, okay. So since we are limited in time, I just wonder whether anyone has an urgent question that want to ask.
Not really urgent, but okay. So we build customized silicons for customers recently. We're talking about like big ass chips that is pushing the foundry functions. So starting from 2022, we're seeing two growth in trend. One is there's more and more customers asking for TSMC alternatives, specifically IFS and EV, that kind of stuff. And also we see a lot of activities in the Middle East, outside US, outside Taiwan. They want to build their own ecosystem and everything. And so second, this is for various reasons, right? Geopolitics and just maybe sheer TSMC unavailability. So the second is that we're seeing that it has become clear that Taiwan has a relatively small talent pool. So initially we saw the users was like we don't have a sexy enough package to attract people, but now it's like every single element of the Taiwanese supply chain is short stacked. Everybody is having problem intercepting the projected target in time. So we talk about a lot about the strengths and leadership, but somehow the reality is telling us that these things are not likely to be sustainable. These geopolitical things and this short staff is putting a cap on the growth in trend. It's likely we're going to see a paradigm shift of Taiwanese leadership to somewhere else. So I'm curious that what would be your take on this, observation on this, and do you see is there any actions that are being taken to somehow mitigate this kind of situation? Very good questions. Yeah, I'm looking at Dr. Chen now, so you have the solution actually. Yeah. So I think of course, customer like me, like we look for multiple suppliers. Okay, and of course in the AI area, I think it's the area actually, yeah, we're looking for alternative solutions other than TSMC. Yeah, but the reality is that we're trying to get everything built on business and market, right? And if we pay less or more faster time to market than in TSMC, then in Taiwan, then we of course they'll become the first choice. Yeah, of course if we see another competitive offering from the competitors, yes, that will be the solution we will adopt. Yeah, so I think, but so far I know Intel and also other Samsung, they are trying to catch up, and then we actually very happy to see that happening because Taiwan is so small and they have to, as you said, all the college graduate or have to support this industry, and then how about other industry in Taiwan, right? So I think it's really the chicken egg questions now, and then we hope there will be more chicken, and then we can buy the eggs.
I maybe kind of think about it like this, right? So no country or no area of the world will have dominance over one industry forever, right? I think we're really talking about how do we sustain this as long as we can, like reasonably speaking, right? So another example is you mentioned the Middle East, right? So say there's a country where the whole country is very wealthy because of oil, right? And imagine a world where people don't use fossil fuels anymore. People use other forms of electricity or other forms of power generation. Then this country then which relies on oil is screwed, right? But you say no. Actually, if they were smart enough to take the profits that they made during the oil when oil was good and invest that into the future to get them out of the oil, because they think, okay, they know at some point the world's going to move somewhere else, right, or do something else, right? Or at least we need to maintain this kind of innovative edge, right? So I think I have a lot of faith in Taiwan, but over the long term, right, to kind of solve or to mitigate these problems, right? There's labor shortage. I think eventually somebody might come up with a way to create the same process but with less manpower, right? Or they'll find a way through policy to to have more skilled immigrants come to Taiwan, or to kind of outsource maybe part of those processes somewhere else. I think that some people will find a way if you give them enough time. Right? And I think part of what maybe policymakers or business leaders can do at the least is to buy us more time, right, for people to figure out solutions to those problems.
Yeah, I guess this is a good question that it cannot be answered from a technology perspective. Okay, and eventually you are talking about the sexy package. It needs to be justified by the market. And when we talk about the market, it is the most important things all countries are chasing for in all human history. We need a big market. We need a great event for that. But if I were the boss of that company, I would be happy to share the profit with the best employee with the sexiest package that they cannot deny. I would love to. The only reason I would say no is because the market is not justifiable. And the reason why the market is not justifiable, it could be very complicated. It could be political reason, it could be my problem. I don't have a good relationship to go in that market, or the leadership problem, management problem. And this kind of phenomenon is reminding us to identify what is the root cause, that why we cannot afford the sexy package. I guess each company has its different reason and culture to answer that, but I don't know whether there's a straightforward answer to this, but eventually, if the market is big enough, lucrative enough, sexy package shouldn't be a problem. Yeah.
Okay, great. We're going to look for Hans's company. LinkedIn.
Okay, so we are over time now, but I still want every panelist to give 1 minute conclusion remark. Think about
one sentence. Yeah.
one sentence conclusion remark.
Yeah.
Think about the past, the current, and the future. What can we do together for Taiwan's future?
So I think just one sentence that we are stepping on our senior developer to create the full ecosystem of IC industry in Taiwan and supporting the AI industry now. And I think we need to think further how to use this well-developed ecosystem to expand the possible market of AI side. That's just like Hans mentioned. And I'm not a software engineer. I'm hardware side, but I truly believe that we need to look for more software solutions to support this AI to make this bigger, especially in Taiwan.
So if there's one takeaway from this session is I think Taiwan really has a unique, special opportunity right now to be more proactive in international affairs because of our position in the AI industry. So the question is, one, how do we take advantage of this opportunity? And two, how do we buy more time to solve some of the challenges that you might mention, and how do we keep this advantage that Taiwan has for as long as we can?
Yeah, so I guess mine will be, I believe that Taiwan is currently in an inflection point that is changing and trying to influence the world. And imagine you are a time traveler from 5 years later. The 5 years later yourself, what would you ask yourself to do to take action right now? Think about that. Thank you.
Great. Just one last conclusion from me. I forgot to mention at the beginning of the introduction. Actually, today I'm coming here serve as a panelist as my role as a CEO of a nonprofit organization, which is called Global Alliance for Taiwan Technology and Diplomacy, GATTD. And Hans and I, I'm the CEO, Hans is the deputy CEO. The reason we want to fund this group is try to find a platform, a peer platform to foster more Taiwan technology industry and business alliance that are willing to protect Taiwan's democracy and freedoms. And I think that also will be good for the whole world as well. So after the panel concluded, you're welcome to come to meet with any of us and continue the discussions, and hoping you will be able to join us at the journey, as Hans mentioned. Looking back, 5 years later, today is what will make things happen at the impression. Okay, thank you very much for coming. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you everybody for staying. And let's thank our speaker and moderator one more time. Yeah.